Sentire Media.
Welcome to the Stop Italian Sounding podcast, uncovering authentic Italian food. I'm your host, Robert Campana, and join me as we delve into the rich heritage of genuine Italian food, exploring its legends, history, and traditions. Through important tips and insightful interviews with industry professionals, you'll gain a deeper understanding of authentic Italian food. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stop Italian Sounding show, uncovering authentic Italian food. So today, we're diving into something that's not just a culinary tradition, but a way of life. And I'm referring to something known as Cucina Povera. I've mentioned it many times before in previous episodes, and I want to kind of dig deep into what it is, why I consider it so smart, and what lessons we could take from it today. So let's start. What is Cucina Povera? So the term Cucina Povera translates to poor kitchen or peasant cooking, if you will. But don't let that name mislead you, because it's not about a lack or deprivation of food. It's about resourcefulness, sustainability, and creativity. So this type of cooking emerged from the necessity in Italy's rural and working class communities, where people had to make do with whatever was available. And sometimes that meant ingredients that were overcooked or undervalued. But instead of seeing this as a limitation, they turned it into an art, at least the way we view it today. So they found ways to maximize flavor with minimal waste and simple techniques. So we think about dishes like pasta fagioli, which we all consider to be a humble and delicious pasta and bean dish rich in protein and a lot of flavor. Also things like ribollita, which is a Tuscan vegetable and bread soup where nothing goes to waste. Basically, yesterday's soup gets reboiled with leftover bread. Also, something like panzanella, which is a salad that transforms stale bread into something refreshing by mixing it with tomatoes, olive oil, and vinegar. And minestrone, which is a flexible vegetable soup that changes with the season using whatever is fresh and available. So these dishes prove that you don't need expensive ingredients to make something hearty, flavorful, and delicious. So why is Cucina Povera, or poor kitchen, so smart? In fact, I like to refer to it as Cucina Intelligente, smart cooking or smart cuisine. So, in today's world where food waste is a huge issue and processed foods dominate our diets, Cucina Povera feels more relevant than ever, I would say. And here's a few very intelligent approaches to food that we could take from Cucina Povera. And the first thing is that we waste nothing. So, with Cucina Povera, every part of an ingredient is used. Stale bread's never thrown away, it's turned into soups, breadcrumbs, or salads. Tough meats are slow cooked until they become tender, and vegetable peels or bones are used to make broth. So, in modern kitchens nowadays, food waste is a huge problem. How often do we buy too many groceries, forget about leftovers, or toss out produce because they're not quote unquote perfect? Cucina Povera instead teaches us to look at food differently, to see the potential inside of waste. Another thing we could learn is about seasonality and locality. So long before the term from farm to table became trendy, Cucina Povera was based on eating what's in season, what's locally available. So there was no access to out of season produce flown in from across the world. People cooked what they had, what the land provided them at that time of the year. So why does this matter today? So, in my opinion, seasonality matters because, number one, better flavor of the food. So, a tomato in summer tastes completely different from a tomato grown in a greenhouse during the winter time, for example. Seasonality also provides more nutrients because produce is at its peak when it's naturally produced. Less environmental impact. Also, we could talk about when we buy local and seasonal food, we reduce our carbon footprint associated with long distance transportation. And instead of relying on imported ingredients, we can embrace what's available around us and rediscover the importance and, let's just say, the beauty of seasonal eating. Next, we should talk about affordability without sacrificing nutrition. So, Cucina Povera proves that eating well doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, it shouldn't be expensive. Let's think about things like legumes, beans, lentils, which are extremely packed with protein and fiber, but cost a fraction of meat. I'm not saying don't eat meat. I'm saying that there are other alternatives than a large consumption of meat, such as legumes. Also, things like farro, polenta, barley. They provide long-lasting energy without breaking the bank. Also, a good quality pasta could fit into that category as well. and other vegetable-based dishes, which ensure that meals are nutrient dense. That's the thing what we have to look for and focus on: nutrient dense, and delicious foods. Many of these traditional dishes were designed to be filling and nourishing, sustaining families through hard times. Because again, cucina povera means poor cuisine. So maybe they didn't have much at the time. They didn't call it cucina povera at the time. It's something that we call it. But it paints the picture quite nicely. And today, of course, with rising food costs, this approach makes things much more easy and makes much more sense. Next, we could talk about flavor through technique, so not expensive ingredients. So instead of relying on luxury ingredients, Cucina Povera builds a wealth of flavor through cooking methods. So slow cooking, tough meats become tender, and flavor deepens over time when you cook it slowly. Layering of flavors also, so simple things like garlic, onions, herbs. Altogether, they create delicious flavors and complexity to the food. And also other things like fermentation and preservation. So techniques like pickling, for example, or curing, extend the life of these ingredients and add depth to the dishes. So it's not always about freezing. It's about different types of fermentation and preservation. A lot of things I think of when it comes to Italian cuisine is sott'olio, so preserving under oil. Um, Another thing that we could discuss when talking about flavors is the almighty soffritto. So it's an Italian base of onions, carrots, and celery sauteed in a good quality extra virgin olive oil. And this simple step adds a whole nother level of richness to that specific dish. So, what could we learn specifically about Cucina Povera, or maybe I should say, what can we learn from Cucina Povera today in 2025? So, there's a lot of wisdom that this could offer in our modern kitchens. And the first thing is that we should be resourceful in the kitchen. So instead of tossing out leftovers or overripe produce, we have to ask ourselves, how can we repurpose this? Stale bread, for example, we could turn it into croutons, like I said before, breadcrumbs, bread pudding. Stale bread, we could even make a frisella, for example. So soak a little bit in water, put some extra virgin olive oil, maybe a few tomatoes on top, some salt, and make it into a meal. If we have extra vegetables, make a soup, make a frittata, make many different things. Leftover pasta, even, we could reheat it in a pan with a bit of extra virgin olive oil, and it comes out delicious. Maybe a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano, and it's a brand new meal. So a simple mindset shift can reduce waste and save a lot of money, while also inspiring creativity in the kitchen as well. The next thing is that we should definitely be eating more legumes and whole greens. I know that I upped my legume intake in the past months. I personally enjoy them. So, like many Cucina Povera staples, beans, lentils, chickpeas, barley, farro, they're all nutrient rich, affordable, and versatile in many different dishes. So, we try to replace some of our meat based meals with these legume based dishes because, again, it's more sustainable. Again, I'm not saying to eliminate meat, but maybe to experiment with different things. And of course, we should focus more about cooking at home. So the heart of this Cucina Povera is cooking at home and making meals from scratch, not only because it saves us money or reduces waste, but also because it gives us the control over the ingredients that we're actually consuming. And it's about reconnecting with real food. I'm going to say it again, real food, because a lot of stuff we eat or we buy from supermarkets is not real food. And this then leads us to enjoy the process of cooking. And in turn, we appreciate sustainability, we appreciate simplicity, because we often associate good foods with complexity, but that's not the case. This mindset shift proves otherwise, because a few high quality ingredients used well, I should say, can create something incredible and delicious. Without obviously breaking the bank. So instead of chasing fancy recipes, we try to embrace simple dishes that highlight the natural flavors of food. So, a few of my final thoughts are this: Cucina Povera isn't just an old fashioned way of cooking, it is a timeless philosophy, I like to say, that we could all learn from today. In fact, we should all make it a point to learn from that today. We embrace things like simplicity, resourcefulness, and seasonality, because with this, we're able to eat better, waste less, and reconnect with real food in a very meaningful way. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the stories of authentic Italian cuisine. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more insights and interviews. Also, feel free to reach out with your thoughts or questions on our social media channels at Stop Italian Sounding or on our website stopitasounding.com. Grazie a tutti e alla prossima.
Sentire Media.
Hey, podcast producers and show hosts. Do you want to join a podcast network that celebrates all things Italian? At Sentire Media, we understand the allure of Italy and its unique culture. Our devoted team of hosts and producers are all driven by their shared passion for Italy. And we work tirelessly to create the best lifestyle podcasts and content that will whisk you away to the very heart of Italy. With us, you can savor the mouth-watering flavors, get lost in the stories from the past, break down the cultural barriers, and truly immerse yourself in the vibrant traditions of this intoxicating country. If you have a great podcast idea or are already in production and would like to join Sentire Media, head over to sentiremedia.com, that's SENTIRE media.com, and find out how to submit your show.